Right. And we're going to watch a short video by Tim Peneluriak. We all know I like Tim Peneluriak. He's articulate. He thinks. He actually thinks about what he's talking about. And he is a mediative voice of reason in many situations, I've found. I think he's a little bit off target on this. Almost bang on point. That he misses the target on how about those who are in a completely different situation. Like, it's okay to put yourself in somebody else's shoes in the sense of trying not to insult anybody. Like, we're talking about the free speech stuff here. And he touches on self-censorship while encouraging others to self-censor, it seems. How far do we go at self-censoring? Because he's right in the sense that I've not read the bill. I'm not going to read the bill because legislature is not law. We all know that. Well, we don't all know that apparently, but we'll watch it and then I'll read out my comment, because I have actually have light conversation with Tim. Because he's capable of critical thought. He can have a critically thought conversation opposing different opinions. This is where he's talking about, I think. You can have an opposing differing opinion and a civil conversation. In saying that, everybody is capable of that if it's a topic that doesn't affect them, until the topic is about them, or what they believe to be moral, true and correct, as opposed to their opponent's perspective or the other viewpoint. Most of us, if we put ourselves in a situation of a point where we've had to deal with an infantile, egomaniac, authoritarian who has an authoritarian job role, in the public service sector, like we're talking about an ego-tripping cop. Anyone that's had to deal with someone like that, and they're in the wrong, and you know they're in the wrong, and you know you're in the right, or they've just massively overstepped the boundary and did not think for 1 second to use any discretionary privilege, which we grant them, to weigh up harm versus good. Anyone that's been in that position will understand where I'm coming from. So we'll watch this and then we'll come back. Why? Because at what point does self-censorship become detrimental to yourself? Detrimental to everyone because nobody will speak up.
Hi everyone and welcome back. Today, let's be honest, look, the reaction by many people to my last video on the hate speech laws has been, in many cases, pretty hysterical to many people. People are acting like free speech has ended overnight or is about to end, like the government just banned all opinions, like saying the wrong thing will somehow land you in prison. But
right, I'll just pause that there real quick. What we do have a problem with in this is we have shill court provocateurs. I'm going to call them that. I'm going to call them what it is. This is why I'm not going to read the bill. And I'm not going to bend to anything if someone says, oh, you're not allowed to say that. I'll say what I well like. And you'll see why when I read out what I've written. I'll say whatever I like. Within reason. I'll put it to you this way. I can say in 12 words what's taken in 500 pages to perform a little mind meld on everybody. I can say it in 12 words. But we've got the White Rabbit, we've got Tim Dwyer, Bible, Guru, Bosie, the usual crew that I always talk about. And a whole bunch more, and politicians, the Citizens Party and these people and those people, and they're grifting on it, okay? They're grifting and shilling on it, and by having that constantly bombarding you, and the little cogs turn around in your head, it's either winding you up or pussifying you. What it is a rehash of the old legislature that's always been around. All they've done is pulled it out of the cupboard, pulled the old dog turd out of the cupboard, threw some glitter on it and said, look, here's a 500-page manifesto. But it's had the effect that they wanted. This is, make no mistake, a chilling effect psyop. That's had it's having multiple desired outcomes. People are self-censoring, people are dividing and arguing. People are focused on that, while nobody's focusing on the real super duper huge psyop that's happening right under everyone's nose, and people are hopping up and down thinking it's a great thing. A coup d'etat. Our country's being taken over by a foreign entity. Literally being taken over. And they're walking in through a foreign territory called Canberra. I'm not going to self-censor. It's the nation state of Israel. Am I bagging out Jews? No. The nation state of Israel doesn't even exist. It's a United Nations pipe dream that everyone fell for. It's called Canaan. All that land is Canaan. It was stolen by the United Nations, alright? I'll call it what it is. I'm not going to self-censor. That's not anti-Semitism. That's calling a thief a thief. You still in Vegas? Close enough.
I think we need to stay focused here and look at the reality. Most of these people that are panicking have not read the bill. They haven't read the explanatory memorandum. What they're doing is reacting to fear rather than just looking at the real facts. So let's talk about what's actually really happening here. And in my last video, I did say that these things can be abused. There's no doubt about that. But I keep hearing people say, look, this is a 500, 600 page censorship law bill. Well, it's actually not. The actual bill itself is about 136 pages. The 500 plus page document that people keep referencing is the explanatory memorandum. Now that explains the bill. And the bill is not 500 pages of new speech bans. What it is legal commentary that almost nobody, I can be sure that nobody's really read it. And yet somehow everybody online is suddenly an expert or a constitutional lawyer. But the reality is, and this might be an uncomfortable truth, This law changes almost nothing in day-to-day reality. Most of what it actually does just strengthens the existing laws as we already know them. It targets threats. It targets incitements to violence, that kind of thing. It targets extremist violence. It targets people trying to stir real world harm. So in other words, it mostly affects people who want to post reckless, aggressive or violent garbage online.
Doesn't just target that. This is another thing that people aren't thinking of. Okay? It also lays the ground, it lays the road way open. It lays the groundwork open for people to use their virtue signalling of being offended or being aggressively insulted, psychologically or mentally assaulted, verbally. Like, you can stare at someone for an uncomfortable period of time, and if they've noticed it 2 or 3 times and you're still staring at them, that's assault. That's called psychological assault. And if it can be proven by a camera, you will be charged for it. What if someone's just staring off into space? It happens. Sorry, I didn't even... you know? Like, where do you draw the line? Because people clearly, we all know. How many people can hold a conversation now? They're so used to this, they're not getting smacked in the mouth. Yeah, I'm going to go straight out and I'll say it. People are so used to this, fucking sure showed him, and not getting a fucking tooth knocked out or something. And then when they see him, they either avoid each other and purposely cross the street to not go near each other. But, you know, character assassination, defamatory, public defamation and slander. People are too scared to go and have someone on defamation and slander. You cost someone their job and they'll just go and sook about it. No, don't just go and sook about it. You do something about it. Do something about it that'll get your job back. If you don't get your job back, you give them a smack in the mouth. And if you're not capable of doing that or whatever, then double down and go and get your job back. Be a bit more careful on the company you keep. All that. But yeah, what I was coming to is this lays the groundwork for so many more broken homes. Is anyone thinking on those grounds? Oh, it was a hate speech. He said my mother's a C word and a manipulative bitch and won't let me go and see me mother. When it was probably like, I wish your fucking mother would keep her nose out of our fucking business, right? Because mother-in-laws, right? Because mother-in-laws, both sides, they just can't drop the idea out of their head that that they are now your extended family because they have a family of their own. When there is a son or daughter-in-law involved and they have children, that's their family now. Unless it is absolutely required, butt out. Because you're only going to do them harm. You will cause fights for them. Mum-in-laws. on both sides. He looks drunk.
Now, if that's your idea of free speech, if that's what you think is a good idea, well, we don't agree on that. Now, here's the part that nobody wants to actually admit. This law, it doesn't actually need to silence people. What happens is fear does it for itself. Fear does it for them. People are now saying, well, I better not criticise politicians, or they're thinking about it. I better not talk about Israel. I better not say anything that could be taken or that could be controversial. But none of that is actually illegal, not even in this bill. What people are doing is actually silencing themselves. That's not censorship, that's psychological compliance. So the government barely has to lift a finger if they want to shut people down. People that are sensationalising this are doing it themselves. Let's be specific. You can still criticise politicians. You can still attack government policy. You can still oppose immigration openly. You can debate gender ideology. You can slam certain ideologies. You can criticise Zionism. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. You can criticise religion. You can say things that are unpopular. You can even say things that are offensive. See, this law doesn't ban dissent or disagreement. What it targets specifically is speech that encourages violence, threatens groups, or dehumanises people. Basically, anything that's trying to stir up some kind of harm. And frankly, like I said before, if that's what you want to defend, well, that says more about you than what it actually says about the law itself.
It does. In some ways too, he's right there. He's right there. This one, he's almost bang on point, but he just misses a couple of targets. Right. More to the point, misses a couple of people that will use this to turn people into targets. There's those. There's the shield court grifters. And who's possible? What's her name? Bloody. It might come up with it automatically. Paul. Who's hanging out of Pauline Hanson's bum that much lately that she's left the dental records in Pauline's pelvis? Dr. Joanne Howe. Now, they're running with this. They're running hard on it. I'm going to go to jail for hate speech. Now, come on. Trust me, you ain't said nothing to no one that I've close to things that I've said to people at times. You should hear some when I used to drink some of the crap that's come out of my mouth. Oh yeah, I go from 5'3" and a good martial artist to 10 foot tall in a tank. Suddenly I want to fight. I hate violence. I hate fighting, but suddenly I turn into something that I'll go way past my capabilities. Well, I don't drink. Now here's another one. I don't really care what you think of Lydia Thorpe. I think she's a bit of a goose. Now, you got Lydia Thorpe, Pauline Hanson, and that, what's her name? The towel-headed Sheila, the Muslim Sheila that's not really a Muslim. I don't think she is. She's not. Real Muslims are stoic. They're not gob-offs. They are more moral than you could ever imagine. Hence why Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X almost changed the world. They almost united the entire world, those two men. Yeah, everyone's forgot about that, haven't they? What a real Muslim is. Muhammad Ali. Go and watch Shahid Balsan. and you'll see that you've all been duped by radicalised Western converts. That's what the traditional Muslims, Islam Muslims, call the so-called Muslims in the Western world. They're Western converts. They don't want nothing to do with them. It's not radicalised Islam. It's not even radicalised Muslims. They're just radicalised idiots. Right? Get that straight. This is another issue where these laws, they get in the way of us having that conversation. This is why I'm saying, Tim Penel-Uriak, you are bang on. One target. There are multiple targets that this bill affects, and there will be multiple targets made out of it. Yeah, it's the same old shit, but it's a dog turd with glitter on it. Now, at this point, Tim's made his point. 4 minutes into 8 minutes. I know, I do the same. We all do the same. We all do it. Wrapping up seems to take longer than bringing the point up. Now, this is what I wrote. Almost absolutely on point. This is what I do respect about you, Tim, and I do respect him. Don't get me wrong. I don't want anyone to go and, right, have a civil conversation with him. Be civil on his page, because he is a civil man. He's a fair man, and he will meet you on common ground. And if he can't, he just leaves it at fair enough. He doesn't mean it rudely, just fair enough. He's a digital currency man. I think that's the devil's work, personally. Like, you know, I'm so anti-digital currency, anti-digital everything, which is why you see the $5 production that I do. It's about information, not optics or tantalising your ears. I'm a little bit blunt and abrasive. So there is probably another point, Tim. I get a message across to people that want to call a spade that's been used, you know. It ain't just any spade. She's a rusty old sturdy spade that I've used for years. Clang! And I have, because I've been overcautious. I've been overcautious, overthought something, and because of that, I brought the arsehole out of someone. Well, at least I see them for what they are now. Walking past his shop. Fucking gremlin. So I'll start again. Almost absolutely on point. This is what I do respect about you, Tim. You take the time to taste your words and allow differing opinions to form common ground. This is, I believe, the whole point of rehashing the same old legislature. It's called the chilling effect. It's an actual psychological effect. It causes self-censorship, and it's working perfectly. Pause. Summerfest the other day, where I helped out there all day, when they had the so-called traditional welcome to country that Ernie Dingo made up in the 1970s on TV as a practical joke. How come everyone knows it, but they're still playing this silly game? See? For nearly an hour, everyone went weird. The people I was talking to fine up until that point, and I was like, seriously, do we have to do this? And they were like, I was suddenly, like I kicked their dog, called it fuck off. Well, what? And everyone went awkward. I watched people separate all over the place. And it took about an hour for everyone to come back to a community fun day. It was weird. As an observer, so a people watcher, I just watched this. This is fucking weird. You could feel the tension. So yeah, self-censorship works real well, doesn't it? You couldn't even get anyone to talk to anyone. At all. Self-censorship, and it's working perfectly. Australia Day, what a flop. Thanks to rhetoric from Pauline Hanson and Anthony Mundine having a pretend argument on the radio, and then Warren Mundine on Sky News telling us to protest each other in the morning and then be mates in the afternoon. What the fuck was that? Woo-hoo. Is what it was. It was a head fuck. That's just one example of people dividing over a red herring distraction psyop, and people keep tripping over their misplaced pride and ego. I will say though, when someone does a grub act, I will call it what it is. For example, a local member of council here in Burnie decided it would be a great idea to parade a group of rainbow gender dysphoria inflicted people around and cause division in an attempt to cause division in our community at the same time as virtue signalling to the LGBTQ people. I'm not even going to call it a community because I will not acknowledge that as something that needs to be accepted as a community. I will acknowledge it as something that needs to be accepted as these are people who need help because this wasn't a thing once until someone invented it. So yeah, it was a filthy grub act, and I told her that personally. It was a filthy grub act. You're a filthy grub for doing it. Another local member who's sick of her bringing DEI, diversity, equity, inclusivity politics to council, which so are most people to be honest, has been stood down for pulling her up on it and has to undergo, wait for it, re-education. They call it counselling. Come on. It's re-education, okay? For wrong think. Hello? George Orwell, 1984, wrong think, newspeak. For racism and homophobia. I'm not even kidding. Advocate Tasmania newspaper if you want to check out the vague story about it. I won't read the bill and I won't self-censor. We already have a law that has covered this for 2,000 years or more, and it was said in 12 words. Do unto others as that you would have them do unto you. And since we are mankind, I will always respond in kind. The golden rule. If you want to make it a shit rule, well okay. You be shit, I'll be shit. Taste your words. The world has become cowardly, and when it comes to words, the world has become cowardly when it comes to words. Inciting violence? Not cool. Calling a spade, a rare quality. Speaking truth to power? I hear crickets. If we're not prepared to have a difficult and abrasive conversation, we're just going to keep sitting by the peg that our chain is attached to and calling it a free democracy. No, it's not. If you're not willing to walk to the end of your chain, then you're a willing prisoner. You've got Stockholm Syndrome. Here's a smack in the face to the whole thing though. Where the wheels fall off the wagon for free speech absolutists like myself, how do we speak truth to power when power is handed to egomaniacs who get offended at the drop of a hat for simply pointing out they are out of line or overstepping their jurisdictional boundaries? I was bashed by a young cop here not long ago because I questioned his lies and threat to use, quote, authority to use whatever force he deems necessary to make me submit to a test, when I wanted to be arrested peacefully under the right arrest protocols to face him in court. And now the whole station is making up garbage to protect the infantile ego-tripping maniac. See how there's two sides to the scales of justification? See, if we self-censor too much, we shouldn't even self-censor at all. We mind our P's and Q's. We have some conversational etiquette, some manners. We don't swear around old ladies and kids. And we don't grovel to those who stand over us purposely. Even if they're not doing it with their words, they're doing it with their body language. We don't allow people to tell us and talk at us and be polite back. That's called a bully and a standover, taking advantage of a coward. You see, here's another situation. And I totally agree with it. Every female on this planet has the right to not deal with a male police officer. They have the right to demand a female police officer. That's why we have female police officers. No male police officer has any right whatsoever to put his hand on a woman, period. No man has the right to put their hands on a woman, period. Ever. But it goes on, and no one speaks up about it. Nobody speaks the truth to the power, because they're too busy being pussified. They've self-censored themselves into sock puppets. Isn't it funny how something can be going on and everyone will stand around and video it, but nobody will step in and intervene. Nobody will stop a bloke hitting a woman. They'll video it. And then character assassinate him on Facebook like a fucking pansy. Kids can be little shits, yeah. Man, a lot of people could... ICE is fucking out of control. People don't need to be shot. Dead. I don't give a shit what anyone says. Unless they are firing upon people themselves, there is no good reason for them to end up dead. This is where we got to start not censoring. So we self-censor to the point that we won't be honest. This is what I'm trying to get at. We won't be honest with ourselves. We'll just kid ourselves, withdraw deeper into ourselves. Don't look, but don't know. If I ignore it, maybe it'll go away. It doesn't go away. It's got you now. It's got you by the balls. You see, here's something. Okay, let's talk about hate speech, freedom of speech, appropriate speech. How about appropriate speech? When I burnt myself, I was in the waiting room there wanting, a few days later, wanting to see someone just to get them to double check it, because, you know, there was no one that could look at it. We don't have anyone in Burnie that knows the damn thing about burns. Funny thing, isn't it? It's called Burnie. And the young security guard there with his little caterpillar on his lip, sitting there talking to some bloke. He's obviously, look, I don't like to stereotype, but you know, kind of know who he is from around the traps in my old days, and he's still in those traps, you can tell. Right? One of those aerial people. And he's dropping F-bombs like they're going out of fashion, and everyone could hear. And I see the old ladies, the older people in there looking. They were disgusted by it. I'm like, He was actually in the ambulance when they come and picked me up when I burnt myself. Oh, how you going, mate? Yeah, good. Old people in here don't appreciate hearing that. I hear police officers walking around dropping F-bombs. Female police officers. Fuck this and fuck that. Yeah, I might drop F-bombs and stuff on here. You can choose to watch me or not. It's not out in public. So how about appropriate speech laws? We need some manners and etiquette back. If we have appropriate speech laws, we can talk about anything without censoring. We just use some manners.